Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing today? And welcome to the second unboxing of the Polymer 80 that I unboxed last week. Now, I know we've already done this before, but I'm kind of low on content, so let's unbox this Polymer 80 pistol again. As we open the box, to see the Polymer 80 Glock frame, we will see the protective foam, and there's no Glock in there. What happened to it? Are you kidding me? I'm not going to do another unboxing. That video was last week, and it was totally awesome. And if you want to see it, the link for that one's down in the description. But today, we're going to move on, and I am going to show you that I have now installed the lower parts kit into this frame, and we are well on our way to our new Polymer 80 Glock pistol build. I bet you I got at least one of you, right? At least one of you? Come on, at least tell me one of you guys thought I was really going to do another unboxing. But anyways, I have so many video ideas, including finishing this Glock, and many of the ideas I get from my viewers down in the comment section, and you guys are awesome. And my only problem right now on this channel is I have too many ideas for videos, and I'm just trying to keep up. So I've already built this lower frame, or receiver if you want to call it that, and I was thinking about how to do the videos on this pistol, and I thought, well, maybe I should build it on camera. And then I thought about it a little more, and I said, well, there's already quite a few people that have built these on YouTube, so if you want to see somebody building it, just type into the YouTube search how to build a Glock Polymer lower, and you'll find some excellent videos from some other excellent content creators. But what I'm going to do instead is show you guys some of the parts, give you my opinions on them, tell you kind of how this whole process works, and also offer a few different vendors or companies that make parts for these builds, give you my review on them and suggestions that I may have for you if you're looking into building your first Glock, or maybe you've built these for a long time and know more than me, but you can get just my take and my opinion on it. So we're going to go over this Polymer 80 frame and build kit. I also have an original OEM Glock. This is a Glock 22 Gen 2, and I'm going to use it for reference a couple times just to show you some of the things that are the same and the couple minor differences between a Polymer 80 frame and an OEM Glock. And I also thought I'd bring out the Glock 22 for the specific reason, you know, people, especially people like the poor conservative that are like, hey man, what have you got against 40? Do you like 40? Well, yeah, I like 40. And to prove it, here's one of my couple Glock 22s right here. So for all you 40 guys, you see a lot of 9mm on this channel, but I also like 40, and I really like 357 SIG. And no, it's not another 9mm, but I digress. Let's get back into this frame here. So, the parts kit that I chose to go with for my Polymer 80 is the Polymer 80 branded lower parts kit that you can see is already completely installed right here. But I happen to have another parts kit that's still new in the bag, and we're going to go through the individual parts just so you guys see what you get, and you can take a look at the parts and maybe get a little more understanding of what's all involved and some of the things that I liked about this parts kit, and if there's anything that I didn't like. So right off the bat, this kit is 50 bucks from Polymer 80's website at the time of this filming, of course, which could always change. And if you buy one, you pay shipping, but if you put enough stuff in your cart to equal 100 bucks, it's free shipping. And I bought two for a reason, because here's the baggie with the extra parts, which I'll explain in a minute. You do get extra parts, which is really cool, and maybe there's another build coming up in the future, and I'll give you a hint. It's going to be a Glock, but it's not going to be a Polymer 80 brand. So you guys can stay tuned, and you'll totally see in the next month or whenever I get time to do more videos on this, you'll see why there's two kits. So go ahead and open up this kit and show you guys what's in here. And just remember, everything in this bag is 50 bucks, which is everything you're going to need to build a Gen 3. These are Gen 3 parts, all of this Polymer 80 stuff, Glock 9mm. And what's cool about this kit right off the bat, this will cover you if you're building a full-size frame, like this Glock 22 or Glock 17, etc. Or a compact. This would be a Glock 19 size, Glock 23, etc. Or even a subcompact, like a Glock 26. I think I just gave you guys a teaser of what this other build kit's for. Glock 26, Glock 27, etc. So this is going to cover several types of guns, and that's why we're going to see some extra parts. So, okay. This is literally how it comes in the bag. I've opened 2 of these, and they were both exactly the same. So here we have part of our trigger assembly. And this is going to include our trigger bar, the polymer trigger shoe, the safety, trigger safety with the spring. And this is already installed, and it's held on to the trigger bar by 2 pins, already ready to go. And the way it comes pre-installed from Polymer 80 is with the flat trigger shoe, which is the one that I actually chose to install on mine. Now, normally I'm more of a curved trigger guy, but I thought, well, on the advice of a friend, he said, you know what, try the flat trigger first, and if you don't like it, you can switch it out. And if you notice, it's still in here for good reason, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So, the flat trigger assembly, if you will. It also is going to come with a curved trigger shoe. So this would be for people that like a curved trigger. And you can see right here where you've got your couple pinholes. You would just simply press out with a small punch very carefully, remembering there is a spring that's in here and your blade safety itself, but this can be swapped out if you'd like to the curve. So already you've got 2 options. You'll choose which one you want, and in this parts kit they give you both, which is pretty cool in my opinion. It's always nice to have options, especially when this parts kit doesn't cost any more than most of them that only come with 1 trigger shoe. So far, pretty cool, right? Alright, moving on. This is what's referred to as your trigger housing, and it actually has a couple parts built into it. So it's a polymer assembly. It comes with your ejector that is formed in. It also comes with this little actuator pre-installed. This may come loose in the bag, but in my case it was already installed, and it's just a metal piece right there. So this is considered to be your trigger housing, and this installs in the rear of the pistol on top of the rear frame rail sections that they give you that I showed in the unboxing, because that's one of the things right off the bat that makes this different than an OEM Glock, but I'll show you that in a second. So we've got our trigger housing. We also have our magazine catch, and this is polymer, and this is basically just like a Glock OEM made by P80. We also have our slide stop mechanism that comes with a little spring already installed on it, and this is going to be very similar to just a regular OEM Glock slide stop. And you're going to notice in my bag of spare parts, you can see I didn't use the slide stop that came with this. This is the only part that I changed out right off the bat during the build, and that's just because of my prior experience with Glocks. I like the extended slide release catch. That's just my thing. It's just a little extra bump that sticks out over the stock one, which you're going to find is essentially just flush. So there's a good difference right there. Nothing against this part. It's functional. It's what most Glocks come with. I don't have a problem with it, but I really, really like to have the extended. So right off the bat, this is just a Glock OEM part that I bought on eBay, and it was rather cheap. I want to say maybe $8 or $9, something like that. So there you go. Alright, so it also comes with a couple pins. We have this large pin with the 2 grooves in it. This is going to be for your trigger. It also comes with a locking block pin. You can see there's a couple little shoulders on this pin right here. So it comes with your pin there. It also comes with your trigger spring. This is a coiled spring with 2 opposing hooks on each side. The trigger spring is located right back here on the rear of the pistol. You can just see the end of it right there. And it basically hooks into the trigger bar and your trigger housing. All this was really easy to install, by the way, guys. Like maybe 15 minutes of putting it together. Now keep in mind, I bought the serialized frame. If you start off with a 80% frame, you're gonna have to go through and do some milling and some sanding and, you know, fit and finish work on the inside. But once you get to that point, it's the same lower parts kit as if you bought the serialized frame like I did. Alright, here is your slide catch lever. This is the famous Glock takedown, if you will, where you basically pull down on the 2 serrations here. And you can see that it moves up and down. And that's what basically stops your slide from coming on and off of the handgun. Lots of little parts here, guys, I'm grabbing. We also have a couple other springs. 3 different types, and we're going to be through it. Really not many parts in a Glock. Here is your spring that installs into the frame. It's just flat, kind of looks like a paper clip, even though it's not. This is just a flat spring that is used for your mag catch or mag release, if you want to call it that. This is going to interface into the little channel on the back of this polymer piece. You can see the little L-shaped channel right there. Real easy to install. And this is what gives it the spring pressure, where when you release, it returns back out again. Look at it from this side. That little spring installed vertically down into a special channel that's already incorporated into the frame provides your spring tension right there. And we have 3 different types of springs, and this is part of the modularity of this kit. Because I said earlier it'll work for a large frame, a medium frame or compact frame, down to the subcompact. And this would be the springs that are on your slide lock lever. So as you've noticed, anytime you take down a Glock, and you can see it again right here moving up and down, you pull down on these little tabs of the actual latch itself, and it moves up and down. So there's a spot down in the frame, and you can see the shiny piece right underneath there. It's like a leaf spring style. So in the case of this being a compact, I ended up using the smaller size leaf spring. This fit perfectly in my Glock 19 size frame here. It also comes with the larger leaf spring. These things are hard to hold on to. Let's see if I can get a comparison. Certainly about twice as large on this end. So this would be for your full size, which is the same type of leaf spring, if you will, for like a Glock 17, or in this case, the Glock 22. You can see it right down in there in the bottom. So, and now for your subcompacts, they give you the 3rd style, which is a little coil spring. And that would fit into a frame that is this size. I would note the old Glock 26s, like this frame right here, would come with a small leaf spring. You can still use that if you want, or the upgrade that Glock did after about 2002, I think, was switch to these coil springs. And the coil spring will also accommodate even these older generation frames. So that's up to you. But the cool thing is, like I said earlier, with this being a somewhat modular kit, you got all 3 styles. So subcompact, compact, full size. So this is nice. And these are for your slide catch. So you got that. Like I said earlier, comes with a complete trigger assembly, if you will. The bar, the shoe, the alternate style of shoe with the curved. A lot of stuff in here for 50 bucks, in my opinion, that can accommodate 3 different sizes of frames. Your couple pins, your magazine catch, the spring for your magazine catch, your trigger spring, and your slide stop lever. So, and last but not least, your trigger housing with ejector built into it. So there's the kit, all installed in the frame right here. And if you guys remember, this comes with a couple sets of rails right out of the box. And the first one would be these rear rails. They're in the shape of a V. They just insert right down into the frame first, and then the trigger housing goes on top of it, right? And these are pretty similar profile to a Glock OEM as far as the shape, probably a little bit thicker. Here's our Glock 22 for reference here. See if I can get that to zoom in a little bit. Now, one noticeable difference right off the bat. When you have an OEM Glock, these are pre-molded into the polymer of the pistols. You can kind of see it right there at that angle, your rear frame rails. Whereas with the Polymer 80, they are not. This is not integrated into the polymer, as you can see. It touches up against this rear section of polymer, but it's not integrated in. This is a separate V-shaped piece that you set in first, and then it gets captured by the same pin that's holding in your trigger housing along the rear back strap. So that's one difference. Another major difference is this. When you come up to the locking portion of the pistol, you will see that you have polymer rails built into the top of the frame, and they are impregnated with these two metal sleeves that are built into the polymer. In other words, these come with your Glock frame and you can't take them out. They're non-serviceable. And you can see a little section of steel coming across the middle in a U shape to help connect these left to right for more reinforcement. And then the other areas around here are all polymer until we get to what's called the locking block itself, and that is most definitely a steel piece that is user replaceable that you can take out of the Glock frame. So it's kind of just a locking block piece, and then the rails are integrated into the frame itself. This is another big difference. On the Polymer 80, we have the pen here and here, the front and rear pins that hold this monolithic piece, and this serves two functions. It now becomes your frame rails as well as your locking block. So we're not looking at two separate pieces here. Both left and right rails, as well as our locking block seen here, is all one piece, and it all comes in as one unit, and I showed that to you guys in the unboxing video. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing. Now, it might be stronger, one could argue, because there is more bearing surface on the frame rails. You could also say you have a tighter lockup, right? Because there's more bearing surface of the slide, you know, to frame connection point there. But I would note, right out of the box, when I put my slide on there, I noticed a little friction. And as soon as I racked it a few times, oiled it up, I took it out, and I noticed a couple witness marks where it was starting to wear the coating off on these frame rails. And there's just a cheap, like, phosphate type finish on these. The finish wears right off of these frame rails very easily. And I said, well, now I see where it's hanging up. So I sat there with a little 120 grit sandpaper, removed a little bit of the high spots here where I could see that it was making contact. Then I polished it down with some finer grit and then even a little steel wool. And I was talking to somebody who's built like over a dozen of these, and they said, yeah, that's normal with a Polymer 80. Even if you buy the serialized one or the 80%, it's kind of expected that the person that's assembling this, or if you're building in the case of a Polymer 80, I'm just assembling, guys. I haven't built anything because this is a serialized firearm when I bought it. But he said, yeah, that's kind of normal to have to sit there and do a little bit of, a final finishing and fitting on these rails. And that's what I did. And you can just see where I've got it down to just the silver steel in a couple spots. And, now it feels pretty smooth. So this would be an integrated locking block and front frame rails on this Polymer 80, which is one noticeable difference. And I already explained this in the boxing, but another noticeable difference is the grip angle. The angle's different, and it also does not have the famous Glock hump, which some people love Glocks, and that's the main thing you like about a Glock. Other people can't stand it, and that's why they don't want to shoot a Glock. So, this might be cool for people that don't like the Glock hump in the back. This is basically a 1911 grip angle, is what it is. Now, it's not going to feel like a regular 1911, because this is a double stack, magazine pistol. And here is an OEM Glock 19 mag. So if you've ever shot a double stack 1911, or you might want to call it a 2011, this is going to have a very familiar feel to you. Just kind of straight up and down. The back of the grip has a radius. The front is slightly radiused on the corners, but generally flat. Plenty of what I would call rather aggressive texturing, even though this is not the one they market as the aggressive texture. This is considered their normal textured lower. But in my opinion, quite aggressive, and I wouldn't want anything rougher than this. But hey, that's just a personal thing. So for me, this is probably about right. Maybe even a touch on the aggressive side, but I think it's good. Plenty of Picatinny rail spots, which I like. And yeah, everything went together pretty well. The only thing I had to do in the form of fitting was just a little bit of light sanding and polishing on these frame rails. Not a big deal. I'm learning as I go too, and I've been told that's just kind of be the expected with a Polymer 80. And it's not that they made the rails out of spec. It's just you're assembling, or in some cases building the pistol, and that's just kind of what you do when you do the final fitting of a pistol. So certainly thought though that's a couple of the big differences between an OEM Glock. I'll try to hold these up one more time. You guys can see what I'm talking about. Where your rails are impregnated in the plastic and rather thin versus the Polymer 80, there's much more substantial amount of bearing surface for the slide to move along the frame. But other than that, if you look at these, let me throw a mag in this 22. These are very similar. Are they 100% part number for part number the same? No. But as far as your build kits go, yes. So when you buy the frame, it's going to come with the special locking block and front rails. It's also going to come with the rear rails. Now these are really the only parts that are different. So if you want to buy an OEM Glock lower parts kit, all of those parts are going to fit into the Polymer 80, assuming you didn't lose the parts that came with it, right? So that's kind of how it works. Between everything that you get with the frame itself and everything you would get, whether it's a Polymer 80 branded kit, OEM Glock kit, lower build kit by many other good companies, you know, there you go. So right now I'm at like $135 for the frame. This is the serialized frame. $25 for the OEM mag. I know guys, $25, but that's the going rate. If you get lucky, maybe 23 or 24, but pretty much for an OEM Glock mag, you're talking $25. And I think you guys already know that, but I wanted to start off with an OEM Glock mag just to eliminate any variables. And as I finish putting this pistol together and take it out to the range, I have other brands of mags we're going to try too, so don't worry about that. I'm going to try some $12 mags, $13 mags. I think I even found one for $11. But we're going to start off with the steel, polymer encapsulated OEM Glock mag, because although they're $25, they're pretty much good to go. And you know what? $25 really isn't bad for an OEM mag. I mean, OEM Taurus G2C mags usually go for $27, $28. Some other pistols, especially certain imports, $35, $40, even $50 mags. So I actually think $25 for OEM Glock mags is a good deal compared to so many other pistols that are out on the market. So figured I'd just touch on that real quick, because guys love to complain about the price of Glock mags, and other guys like me, hey, it's actually a pretty good deal for the OEM mags. So $135, $25 for the mag, and we've got $50 into the lower parts kit, and we're basically good to go for the bottom half of this build. Of course, there's sales tax and FFL fees and shipping, although this was free shipping, but you guys know what I'm saying. It's just how guns work, unfortunately. $200 ends up costing you very easily $250 by the time you pay FFL shipping, sales tax, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, that's where we're at. Glock 22 Gen 2. You're going to notice a big difference in the grip texture, but also look at difference in the grip angle like I'm talking about here. You can see the slope and the famous Glock hump, as it's called. And we'll note with the Polymer 80, pretty much just straight up and down. I mean, it's on an angle, but it's a straight angle. There you go. That gives you a pretty good difference there. And that's kind of what you could expect between an OEM Glock versus one of these Polymer 80s. Even here with the subcompact, You can see how it drastically curves right there at the bottom of the grip frame. Glock 26s and 27s are interesting though, and I'll get into this later, but they're interesting. The Glock hump hits my hand right here, and I actually find it to be just perfect in their subcompacts, where it can get on my nerves sometimes. In the full-size frames, it just takes a little getting used to. If you shoot Glock all the time, this is just right. And then when you go to grab a frame like this, it's going to feel weird. But if you're shooting lots of other pistols, I find, because I shoot so many guns just for my personal interest and this channel, if I've been shooting other pistols for a long time, when I first grab a Glock, my point of aim will be off just for a couple shots till my muscle memory kicks back in and I remember. So it's kind of a personal preference thing, and I think you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So we're almost there, guys. And the next video, I'm going to be talking about the slide. And I'll give you guys a quick teaser right now, but I'm not going to explain it because that's going to be the content for the next video. So I have a Remsport slide assembly. This can be bought as a loaded assembly, just like I have it here, or all of these parts can be purchased separately. You can buy a bare slide, a barrel, nice CNC lathed stainless steel guide rod assembly, slide completion kit. This is the complete loaded slide or complete unit here. So I'll give you guys a quick teaser. Let's drop the mag. We're going to throw this on here real quick. And there we go. Holds open on the last round. My extended slide release comes in handy right there. With a flat blade trigger. See if I can get that straight on camera. Nice short reset, crisp, and a crisp trigger pull. I actually think I like this Polymer 80 trigger more than the OEM Glock. And it's not the Glock has a bad trigger. It doesn't. But it's a Glock trigger. You know what I'm saying? Some people like them, some people hate them. I shouldn't say it's not bad. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think of Glock triggers. Some of you are going to say you love them, they're reliable, you like the feel. Other people are going to say you hate an OEM Glock trigger. I don't mind an OEM Glock trigger. I don't think it's bad. I'm plenty used to it, and it's reliable. However, I think, if anything, yeah, definitely actually liking this Polymer 80 trigger better than the Glock, quite frankly. The reset's very crisp. Doesn't have much sponginess to it. Short, crisp break. Still has a few pounds on it. These are combat or duty type triggers. Glocks were never designed to have a hair trigger. If you want your Glock to have one, that's fine with me. I don't care. Anything I'm going to carry, I want to have a few pounds on the trigger. I'm not going to walk around and concealed carry something that has a 1.5 or 2 pound hair trigger. But if you want to, the main thing is if you're safe, you're not going to hurt any innocent people, go on with yourself. I could care less, but I think the poundage is just about perfect on this. Certainly very short, reset, crisp. Nice little trigger they're including, and this is just the one that comes with the $50 parts kit, guys. So yeah, I'm liking it. Alright, well, you've seen a sneak preview of the slide. I tried to go over as much detail as I can, the different parts and the way these frames work and how it's similar to an OEM Glock and some areas where it's different. We're going to get into some detail on this. I'll definitely give you guys the information down in the description where you can start shopping some of the Remsport parts. They did help out this build by sending this to the channel for me to test out and go through. I've already been testing it quite a bit, and I'm definitely really liking this Remsport product and looking forward to the next video on their stuff. So I'll preliminarily give you guys a link just so you can start shopping those guys, but at the same time, if you want to hold off till the next video, I'm definitely going to give you more information on why I'm really liking this slide and all of the components in it. So yeah, Polymer 80 Glock 19 build is on its way, and as you can see, it's done. I'm just going to explain this upper, if you want to call it that, completed slide, loaded slide. You guys can call it whatever you want around here. I don't care. But yeah, some more cool stuff to come, and then hopefully pretty soon if it'll stop snowing, I'll get some time to go out to the range and fire the first shots and try a few different mags and let you guys know what I'm thinking, and then I'll let you know whether it's worth doing one of these or not. But so far I am having a good time and curious just to hear you guys' comments and opinions on what I'm doing here and what you guys have done with yours. I know a lot of you guys have built some fancy ones that are probably a lot cooler than mine, but yeah, just let me know what you guys think. Alright, thanks for watching and have a good one.